Do you ever feel a tightness in your chest that you dismiss as just indigestion? Have you found yourself getting breathless after climbing a flight of stairs you used to take two at a time? Do you lie awake at night, your mind racing, while a strange fluttering sensation dances in your ribcage? Or maybe you just feel tired, a deep, bone-weary fatigue that no amount of coffee seems to touch. You tell yourself it's just age, it's just the stress of modern life. You tell yourself it's normal, but what if it's not? What if these are subtle whispers from the very core of your being, your heart, trying to tell you that it's in trouble? What if the everyday habits you've fallen into, the routines you think are harmless, are actually silent wrecking balls, slowly and methodically damaging your most vital organ? If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to listen closely for the next few minutes. The information in this video isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to empower you, because understanding the problem is the very first step to fixing it. We're going to count down the 5 biggest daily mistakes that are putting your heart under fire, and the number one culprit might not be what you think. Number 5, lack of sleep. We begin our countdown with an enemy that operates under the cover of darkness, sleep deprivation. In our hustle culture, especially for those of us over 40 juggling careers, family, and financial pressures, sleep is often the first thing we sacrifice. We see it as a luxury, a commodity we can trade for a few more hours of productivity or a late-night movie to unwind. But the truth is, sleep is a non-negotiable biological necessity, and when you consistently shortchange your body, your heart is one of the first to pay the price. Think of your body as a high-performance vehicle. During the day, you're driving it hard, accelerating, braking, navigating traffic. Nighttime is when that vehicle goes into the garage for essential maintenance. It's when the engine cools down, the fluids are recalibrated, and the microscopic damage from the day's journey is repaired. When you don't sleep, you're essentially telling your mechanic, nope, no time for that, and getting right back on the highway with an engine that's still hot and parts that are starting to wear. So what's actually happening inside your chest when you're staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m.? First, let's talk about blood pressure. During a normal night's sleep, your blood pressure naturally dips. This is called nocturnal dipping, and it's a crucial period of rest for your cardiovascular system. Your heart gets a break from pumping so hard, and your arteries get a chance to relax. When you are sleep deprived, this dip doesn't happen as it should. Your blood pressure remains elevated for more hours of the day. Imagine constantly revving a car's engine for 20 hours straight instead of 16. Over weeks, months, and years, this sustained high pressure puts an incredible strain on the inner lining of your arteries, making them stiffer, less flexible, and more prone to damage. This condition, hypertension, is a primary driver of heart attacks and strokes. Second, a lack of sleep throws your crucial hormones completely out of whack. It triggers an overproduction of cortisol, the infamous stress hormone. We'll talk more about cortisol later, but for now, know that it signals your body to go into a state of high alert. This means your heart rate increases and your body is flooded with glucose for a quick energy burst. This is a fantastic survival mechanism if you're being chased by a bear, but it's disastrous when it's happening night after night because you only got 5 hours of sleep. This chronic state of emergency promotes inflammation throughout your body, including in your blood vessels. This inflammation is like a slow, simmering fire within your artery walls. It creates a rough, sticky surface where cholesterol, fats, and other substances can easily latch on and start to build up. This is the beginning of atherosclerosis, the hardening and narrowing of the arteries, which is the underlying cause of most heart disease. Furthermore, lack of sleep affects your appetite-regulating hormones, ghrelin and leptin. Sleep deprivation causes ghrelin levels, the I'm hungry hormone, to surge, and leptin levels, the I'm full hormone, to plummet. This is why after a poor night's sleep, you're more likely to crave sugary, high-calorie junk foods. You reach for the donut instead of the oatmeal, not because you lack willpower, but because your very biology is screaming for a quick and ultimately damaging energy fix. This, of course, leads to weight gain, particularly dangerous belly fat, which is another major risk factor for heart disease. And let's not forget about conditions like sleep apnea, which is alarmingly common and often undiagnosed in people over 40. This is where your breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep. Each time you stop breathing, The oxygen level in your blood drops dramatically, sending a panic signal to your brain. This jolts you awake just enough to start breathing again, often without you even realizing it. These repeated oxygen drops and surges in stress hormones are like a sledgehammer to your cardiovascular system, drastically increasing your risk for high blood pressure, heart attack, and atrial fibrillation. If you snore loudly and feel exhausted even after a full night's sleep, it is critical to talk to your doctor. Getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep isn't a sign of laziness, it's a sign of intelligence. It is one of the most powerful preventative actions you can take for your heart. Number 4, poor nutrition. Now, let's move into the kitchen, the place where we either build our health or systematically destroy it. The fourth major mistake is fueling our bodies with a diet high in sugar, trans fats, salt, and heavily processed foods. This is perhaps the most insidious of our mistakes because it's wrapped in convenience and decades of clever marketing. Let's break down the main offenders. First, the sweet poison, sugar. And I'm not talking about the natural sugar in an apple or a berry. I'm talking about the added sugars that are dumped into everything from sodas and breakfast cereals to ketchup and salad dressings. When you consume a high sugar meal or drink, your bloodstream is flooded with glucose. Your body scrambles to produce insulin to manage this onslaught. Over time, your cells can become resistant to insulin's effects, forcing your pancreas to work overtime. This is a direct path to type 2 diabetes. But even before that, this constant sugar roller coaster is directly harming your heart. Excess sugar promotes chronic inflammation. Think back to that simmering fire in your arteries we just talked about. Sugar is like throwing gasoline on it. It damages the delicate lining of your blood vessels, creating the perfect sticky environment for cholesterol to build up into plaque. Furthermore, the liver, when overwhelmed with fructose, a type of sugar found in high fructose corn syrup, converts it into triglycerides, a type of fat that circulates in your blood. High triglycerides are a well-established risk factor for atherosclerosis and heart disease, so that daily soda or sugary coffee drink isn't just empty calories. It's a daily dose of inflammatory, artery-clogging material. Next up are the engineered villains, trans fats. These are artificial fats, created in a lab by bubbling hydrogen through vegetable oil to make it solid. This process, called hydrogenation, creates a fat that is cheap, has a long shelf life, and gives food a desirable texture. It's found in many margarines, packaged baked goods, fried foods, and coffee creamers. From a chemical standpoint, trans fats are a nightmare for your heart. They do a terrible double whammy on your cholesterol. They raise your LDL, bad cholesterol, which contributes to plaque buildup, and simultaneously lower your HDL, good cholesterol, which is responsible for clearing excess cholesterol out of your arteries. There is no safe level of artificial trans fat consumption. It is pure, unadulterated cardiovascular poison. Reading labels is your best defense. If you see partially hydrogenated oil in the ingredients list, put the product back on the shelf. Then there's the flavor enhancer we all love, salt. Our bodies need a small amount of sodium to function, but the vast majority of us, especially in America, consume far too much. And the main culprit isn't the salt shaker on your table, it's the massive amounts of sodium hidden in processed and restaurant foods, canned soups, frozen dinners, cured meats, pizza, and fast food. When you have excess sodium in your system, your body holds onto water to try and dilute it. This increases the total volume of blood inside your blood vessels. Imagine trying to force more water through the same size garden hose. The pressure inside the hose would skyrocket. That's exactly what happens in your arteries. This leads to high blood pressure, forcing your heart to work much harder to pump blood throughout your body. Over time, this extra workload can cause the heart muscle to thicken and stiffen, leading to heart failure. Finally, this all comes under the umbrella of processed foods. These are foods that have been altered from their natural state. They are engineered to be hyper-palatable, so delicious that you can't stop eating them. They are stripped of their natural fiber, vitamins, and minerals, and then loaded up with sugar, unhealthy fats, sodium, and a cocktail of artificial additives. They provide the building blocks for disease, not for health. A simple rule of thumb: if it comes in a box or a bag with a long list of ingredients you can't pronounce, it's likely doing more harm than good. Swapping processed foods for whole foods, fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, is like swapping out cheap, dirty fuel for premium, clean-burning fuel for your body's engine. Number 3, a sedentary lifestyle. Our bodies were designed for movement. For millennia, human survival depended on hunting, gathering, and farming, activities that kept us physically active throughout the day. Today, for many of us, our reality is the exact opposite. We sit. We sit in the car to commute to work. We sit at a desk for 8 hours. We sit on the couch to watch TV in the evening. This constant sitting is what scientists now call sitting disease, and it's our third major mistake that is devastating heart health. You might think, but I go to the gym 3 times a week, and that's fantastic. But research is showing that even regular bursts of exercise might not be enough to undo the damage of sitting for 10 or more hours a day. The problem is the prolonged, uninterrupted periods of being sedentary. Let's paint a picture of what happens when you sit for hours on end. First, your circulation slows down dramatically, especially in your legs. Blood flow becomes sluggish. This can lead to the pooling of blood, which increases the risk of blood clots forming in your deep veins. If a piece of that clot breaks off and travels to your lungs, it can cause a life-threatening pulmonary embolism. On a more chronic level, this sluggish flow means your body isn't as efficient at clearing fats and sugars from your bloodstream. An enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, which is crucial for breaking down triglycerides in your blood, essentially switches off when you're sitting, so those fats just continue to circulate, waiting to be deposited in your artery walls. Second, a sedentary lifestyle promotes weight gain and metabolic dysfunction. When you're inactive, you burn very few calories, making it incredibly easy to fall into a calorie surplus and gain weight. This inactivity also contributes significantly to insulin resistance. Your muscles are major consumers of glucose, and when they're not being used, they don't take up glucose from the blood as effectively. This, as we've discussed, is a cornerstone of developing type 2 diabetes, which in turn dramatically increases your risk of heart disease. Third, your blood pressure and cholesterol levels are negatively impacted. The lack of movement contributes to the stiffening of arteries, which naturally drives up blood pressure. Regular physical activity, on the other hand, helps keep arteries flexible and healthy. Inactivity also tends to lead to lower levels of that protective HDL cholesterol and higher levels of harmful LDL cholesterol and triglycerides. Think of your cardiovascular system like a network of rivers and streams. Movement is the current that keeps the water flowing, fresh, and clear. Being sedentary is like building a series of dams that cause the water to become stagnant, murky, and full of debris. The antidote is simple in principle. Move more and sit less. This doesn't mean you have to run a marathon. It means consciously breaking up long periods of sitting. Set a timer to get up and walk around for a few minutes every hour. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Park farther away from the store entrance. Do some squats or stretches during TV commercials. Go for a brisk walk during your lunch break. These small, consistent movements add up. They keep your blood flowing, your muscles engaged, and your heart happy. An active life is a life where your heart doesn't have to struggle against a tide of stagnation. Number 2, smoking. If the previous mistakes were silent wrecking balls, this one is a controlled demolition. There is no ambiguity, no gray area when it comes to smoking and your heart. It is, without a doubt, one of the single worst things you can do for your cardiovascular health. Every single puff of a cigarette unleashes a toxic storm on your body. Let's be brutally clear about what happens the moment you inhale. Instantly, the thousands of chemicals in tobacco smoke, not just nicotine, but carbon monoxide, tar, formaldehyde, cyanide, enter your bloodstream and wage a multi-front war on your heart and blood vessels. The first front is the direct damage to your arteries. These chemicals are corrosive. They physically damage the smooth, delicate inner lining of your arteries, called the endothelium. This damage creates rough, inflamed patches, which are like magnets for cholesterol and other cellular debris. It's like intentionally scratching up the inside of a pristine pipe, making it incredibly easy for gunk to build up. This process is the very definition of atherosclerosis, and smoking puts it into hyperdrive. The second front is the assault on your blood itself. The carbon monoxide from smoke displaces oxygen in your blood. Your heart, starved of the oxygen it needs to function, has to beat faster and work harder just to supply the same amount of oxygen to your body. This puts an immediate and unnecessary strain on the heart muscle. At the same time, smoking makes your blood thicker and stickier. It increases the activity of platelets, the tiny cells responsible for clotting. This makes it much more likely for a blood clot to form on one of those damaged, plaque-filled areas in your arteries. If a clot forms in a coronary artery, it blocks blood flow to the heart muscle. That is a heart attack. If it forms and travels to the brain, that is a stroke. Smokers are 2 to 4 times more likely to have a heart attack than non-smokers. The third front is the attack on your cholesterol profile. Smoking slashes your levels of protective HDL cholesterol, the good cholesterol that helps remove plaque from your arteries. It's like firing the cleanup crew while simultaneously dumping more trash into the system. And then there's nicotine. Nicotine is a powerful stimulant. Within seconds of your first puff, it causes a surge of adrenaline. This constricts your arteries, raises your heart rate, and spikes your blood pressure. For a smoker, this happens over and over again, all day long. This constant state of artificially induced stress is relentlessly battering your cardiovascular system. For those of you over 40, the cumulative damage is especially dangerous. Your heart and arteries may already have some level of age-related wear and tear. Smoking accelerates this process exponentially. If you also have other risk factors, like high blood pressure or a poor diet, smoking acts as a powerful multiplier, creating a truly deadly combination. And let's not even begin to talk about the risk to your loved ones from secondhand smoke, which carries many of the same dangers. Quitting smoking is the single most important thing you can do for your heart health. The benefits start almost immediately. Within 20 minutes, your heart rate and blood pressure drop. Within 12 hours, the carbon monoxide level in your blood returns to normal. Within a year, your risk of a heart attack drops dramatically. It's never too late to quit. Your body has an amazing capacity to heal, but you have to give it a chance. Number 1, chronic stress and anxiety. We have arrived at the number 1 mistake, the master saboteur of heart health in the modern world. It's not a substance you ingest or a physical activity you avoid. It's a state of being. It's the relentless, grinding pressure of chronic stress and anxiety. In our 40s and beyond, the sources of stress can feel overwhelming. The pressure to excel at work, financial worries about mortgages and retirement, caring for aging parents while still supporting children, navigating changes in our own health and bodies, it's a perfect storm. We often internalize this pressure, telling ourselves to just tough it out. But your heart doesn't know how to tough it out. It just responds to the signals it receives. And the signal of chronic stress is a constant blaring alarm that says, danger. Here's the physiology of that danger. When your brain perceives a threat, whether it's an angry email from your boss, a stack of unpaid bills, or even just a constant loop of worried thoughts, it activates the fight or flight response. Your adrenal glands pump out a flood of stress hormones, primarily adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline is the immediate crisis responder. It makes your heart pound, it raises your blood pressure, and it boosts your energy supplies. This is great for short-term emergencies. Cortisol is the long-term manager of the crisis. It keeps your body on high alert. It floods your bloodstream with glucose for sustained energy, and it narrows your arteries to keep blood pressure high. The problem is, in our modern world, the crisis never ends. The deadline is followed by another deadline. The financial worry is constant. The anxiety simmers day and night. This means your body is marinating 24/7 in a bath of these potent stress hormones. This chronic exposure to cortisol and adrenaline is devastating for your heart over time. The constantly elevated heart rate and blood pressure wear out your heart muscle and damage your arteries, just like running an engine at its red line for too long. The excess glucose released by cortisol contributes to inflammation and insulin resistance. High cortisol levels are directly linked to increases in bad LDL cholesterol, triglycerides, and the accumulation of dangerous visceral fat around your organs, including your heart. But the damage from stress is also indirect and just as dangerous. How do we often cope with feeling stressed and anxious? We reach for unhealthy comforts. We skip the gym because we're too tired and overwhelmed. We order a greasy pizza instead of cooking a healthy meal. We smoke a cigarette or have a few extra drinks to take the edge off. We stay up late, endlessly scrolling on our phones to distract our anxious minds, ruining our sleep. Do you see the pattern? Chronic stress is the puppet master, pulling the strings of all the other mistakes we've discussed. It makes you crave the sugary food. It sabotages your sleep. It drains your motivation to exercise. It can drive you to smoke or drink. It is the root cause that amplifies all other risk factors. Loneliness and social isolation, which are increasingly common, are also major forms of chronic stress that have been strongly linked to a higher risk of heart disease. We are social creatures, and a lack of meaningful connection is a real physiological stressor. Learning to manage stress is not a soft skill, it is a critical survival skill for your heart. This means finding healthy coping mechanisms, deep breathing exercises, meditation, spending time in nature, regular physical activity, which is a powerful stress reducer, connecting with friends and family, and seeking professional help from a therapist if needed. It means setting boundaries, learning to say no, and prioritizing your own well-being. Protecting your peace is protecting your heart. So there you have it, the 5 daily mistakes that are putting your heart under fire: a chronic lack of sleep, a diet full of sugar and processed junk, a sedentary lifestyle, the poison of smoking, and the relentless pressure of unmanaged stress. It can feel like a lot. And as you listened, you may have recognized yourself in more than one of these descriptions. My goal today was not to overwhelm you or make you feel guilty. It was to turn on the lights so you can see what's really going on, because you cannot change what you do not acknowledge. The most important thing to remember is that you are in the driver's seat. Your heart's future is not set in stone. The damage from these habits is often reversible, especially when you catch it early. You have the power to make different choices, starting today. This channel is just getting started, and our mission is to provide you with honest, practical, and empowering information to help you take back control of your health. If you found this video valuable, the single best way you can thank us for our work is by subscribing to the channel. Hitting that subscribe button helps us grow and reach more people just like you who need to hear this message. I know the journey to health can feel long and sometimes lonely. You might feel like you've tried before and failed. But don't give up. Be kind to yourself. Start small. Pick one thing from this video to work on this week. Maybe it's getting an extra 30 minutes of sleep. Maybe it's swapping that afternoon soda for a glass of water. Maybe it's just taking a 10-minute walk. Every small step in the right direction is a victory. Find your path. You are worth the effort. Stay strong, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.